Tonight, we won't speak of history the way scholars do. No footnotes, no distance, no safety in textbooks. Tonight, we step into it, barefoot, through incense smoke and ash, into a world where your body is not your own. Not truly, where sex isn't freedom. It's duty, not desire, but repayment. And love, if it comes later, if at all. You don't know it yet, but this night, this moment, will echo through centuries. What you touch now will become myth. So close your eyes. Let time dissolve. You awaken in the year 1216. Asia is not just a continent, it's an entire universe. Empires stretch like constellations across the sky. Goryeo, Korea, Heian, Japan, the Southern Song. Far west, the Delhi Sultanate rises. And somewhere, the Mongols gallop like wildfire over frozen steppes. But they haven't reached you. Not yet. In your corner of the world, the air is heavy with bamboo ash, fish oil, and the sweet sting of plum wine left uncorked too long. You lie on a straw mat. Above you, a flickering paper ceiling. Lantern light dances. Shadows flit, not people, moths. Still, you flinch. Your hands are tied. Not cruelly, not tightly, just enough to remind you, this moment does not belong to you. You are not nobility, and you are not free. You exist in between. A name spoken only when needed. A presence felt, but never acknowledged. You serve tea in silence. You bathe when summoned. You sleep when permitted. But tonight is not like the others. Tonight, you've been bathed. Your skin rubbed with camellia oil. Your hair combed, styled in a way unfamiliar, ceremonial. No one told you why. But you know, it's your night. Not of romance, but of obligation. There is no music, only the soft scratch of feet outside your door. A silhouette appears. It pauses, breath catches, then the paper door slides open without a sound. He steps in. He does not smile. He doesn't ask your name. He already owns it. He is older, his robe lined with black silk. He wears a family crest. You dare not raise your eyes to it. That is not your place. Your place is here, on your knees, bowing lower than your shoulders can bear. He kneels across from you, and in that breathless stillness, you understand. You are not a person. You are a ritual, a night carved into legacy, a lineage paid forward. He is not here for pleasure. He is here for tradition. And yet, somewhere deep in your chest, you feel something stir. A trembling in your fingers, a whisper of hope. Or is it shame? You can't name it. No one ever taught you how. In medieval Asia, sex was not simple. In Goryeo, Korea, Confucian rules governed glances. A woman's gaze could be seduction, a man's silence, approval. Every touch a matter of hierarchy. Every body an instrument of ancestral duty. In Heian, Japan, a samurai's wife might not speak during the act. Only her breath, soft enough not to offend the gods, was permitted. Yet, in the geisha houses, there was art. Not prostitution, but performance. Delicate, precise, so tender it could make hardened men weep. In the southern Song courts, Chinese courtesans penned poetry before undressing, because wit, like skin, was to be unwrapped slowly. And in some places, love was punishable. In others, assigned. The man before you lowers his robe. Not fully, just enough, you follow, not out of want, but because survival has always worn silence as armor. There is no kiss, only breath. He reaches for your wrist, unties the rope. He says nothing, you say nothing, because silence is the only language left to you. And yet, when his skin meets yours, something opens, not pleasure, not pain, but presence. You are here, you are real. And this moment, whatever name history gives it later, will become story. A whisper passed down, misunderstood, romanticized, even sold. But right now, it is not sacred, it is not sinful. It is simply obligation wrapped in warmth. Afterwards, he leaves, no word, no glance. You remain still, not weeping, not proud, just present. You stare at your hands, oiled, folded, and you wonder, will this night echo? Will you be remembered? Or are you just one more name, erased by duty? You don't know, but you feel it. What you touch now will become myth. And maybe, just maybe, you were never just a servant. You were the story. Let the next day begin. Before your eyes even open, something stings your nose. It isn't smoke, it isn't incense. It's you. The scent of yourself rises. Sour fabric from last night's robe. Sweat soaked deep into the seams. Old oil and the faint metallic whisper of blood. Your thighs are sticky. You shift on the straw mat, and your skin brushes against something cold. A basin, set there quietly in the night, by hands you did not see. You slept in someone else's pleasure. Now, you wake in your own shame. Your body doesn't hurt, not in the way you feared. But it doesn't feel like yours either. Not yet. It still feels like it belongs to the man who left without a word. You sit up slowly. Your hair clings to your face. Your legs ache. Your stomach cramps. Not with hunger, but with something deeper. And then you realize your moon has come. The bleeding has begun. A sign of youth, a sign of fertility, of untouched womanhood, and now, a danger. In many corners of medieval Asia, menstruation is impurity. In some Heian villages of Japan, women must sleep in exile huts during their cycle. In Goryeo, Korea, Bleeding women are forbidden from entering temples. And in certain provinces of old China, sex during menstruation is punishable by shame or worse. You weren't supposed to bleed today, and certainly not after being touched. But here you are. You dip your fingers into the basin. The water is icy. Your skin stings. There's no clean cloth, only a rag and crushed lotus leaves. This is what women use here. To clean, to hide. You remember the whispers from behind thin walls. If a man sees blood, he'll never touch you again. If you stain the mat, they'll fine your family. If you lie with blood, the gods won't bless your womb. You close your eyes, and you wipe, slowly, carefully, with a cloth that scratches like bark. Outside, morning wakes. You hear the world begin, not temple bells, but rice field chimes, chickens clucking, hooved in the mud, buckets clanging on stone. The air smells of burnt soy, wet wood, cooking vinegar, and bodies. There is no soap, only ash water, only what hands can scrub, and not all hands are allowed to be clean. You rise, dizzy, your knees wobble. The room leans sideways. You haven't eaten since midday yesterday. But food isn't your concern. You must hide the cloth. If someone sees it, on your robe, on the mat, on your skin, you could be punished. You tuck the rag under the bedding. Not good enough. You fold it inside the basin. It floats. You roll it tight. Push it deep beneath the tatami flooring. No one looks there. Hopefully. A knock. Your heart halts. You bow, out of habit, even though the door hasn't opened. A woman's voice whispers, "Lady says you are to bathe again." She says, "The master may return." Your mouth dries. Again. You've barely stitched together from the night before. But here, consent is not a concept. It's a luxury, a language not yet born. You nod, still bowing. The voice vanishes. No eye contact, no kindness. You know what's expected. You must bathe, purify, look untouched. Because if he returns, he must not know you bled. You step into the early sun. The light stings your eyes. You walk barefoot to the bathhouse. The path is lined with stone, smooth but sharp. You are not permitted sandals, not unless invited, a reminder of who you are. On the way, you pass other women, older, quieter. One carries laundry, one holds a child, one does not look up. They've been through this, all of them, and none of them speak, because here, sex is not spoken of, not by women, not without risk. Inside the bathhouse, steam coils like spirits. A girl, no older than 11, stirs the water with a bamboo pole. She doesn't meet your eyes. You slip in. The heat bites. You stifle a gasp. You do not want to seem weak. But the water is not clean. It smells of others. You are bathing in their residue. You move your hands slowly over your arms, your thighs. You do not scrub too hard. Bruises raise suspicion. You open a gourd of camellia oil. Rub it into your skin until it shines, until it glows, until it lies, until no one could guess that your body was afraid last night. They will dress you again. They will comb your hair again, perfume your wrists, powder the parts of you that look too human, and tonight you may lie with him again, or with someone new. You are not alone. Across Asia, there are thousands like you, some born into noble blood, traded like treaties, others bought from starving villages, groomed to be desirable. Some entered temples, hoping for safety, only to be gifted to patrons. Even on the Mongol plains, beneath yurts and stars, desire and conquest walk side by side. Sex here is not always violent, but it is never free. As you step from the bathhouse, the wind clings to your skin, warm, thick, unrelenting, and it strikes you. Your body is not a secret. It is a currency, a contract, a ceremony. And you are not just a servant, you are the offering. Tomorrow will ask more of you. But for now, tonight, the silence returns. Your first task is simple. Stay alive long enough to reach midday. At least it sounds simple, but it isn't. Not when your stomach gnaws from the inside. Not when your thighs still ache from last night's ritual. Not when your face must smile, even as your spirit slips quietly into hiding. You dress in silence. The robe is clean, but stiff with starch. The sash digs into your waist, too tight, too deliberate. Your feet are bare. Again, you walk slowly, carefully. You cannot limp. If you limp, someone might notice, and here noticing can be dangerous. The house is already waking. You pass through the servant corridor, a narrow, shadowed artery where girls move like ghosts. Hands filled with linens and trays, eyes lowered, lips pressed so thin it's as if their words were sealed away years ago. You are one of them, and yet not quite. You are not kitchen help. You are not a concubine. You are not a wife. You live in the space between titles, kept for show, used for ritual, forgotten when convenient, and everyone knows it. You step into the outer courtyard. The sun is rising, but it brings no warmth. It's pale, faded. A quiet fog rests over the koi pond. You glance at your reflection. Your face looks soft, but your eyes do not. You head toward the kitchen. You're not allowed to eat there, not openly, but sometimes the cook leaves scraps near the door. A silent kindness. Today, just broth, garlic, onion, and something faintly spoiled. You sip from a cracked clay bowl. It is not delicious, it is not nourishing, but it is enough. Because here, hunger is worse than pride. As you crouch by the step, another girl appears. Her face is powdered, lips tinted red, her sleeves longer, more adorned. She does not bow. She nods barely and walks past. You feel it, that flicker of judgment, of comparison, of hierarchy. She is favored this week. You were favored last night. Tomorrow, who knows? There are no friendships here, only rotations. In medieval Asia's noble houses, the women lived in chambers of silence and ceremony. Not ruled by men, but by the favor of men. Beauty was currency, silence was strategy, and position could vanish overnight. A wrong word, a laugh too loud, a robe folded carelessly, a bloodstain left too visible, and you could be dismissed, disgraced, discarded, or worse, left here forever, unspoken, unseen. You clean. You sweep the front hallway, not with purpose, but performance. Even your labor must be pleasing, they told you once, so you move with grace. Head lowered when guards pass, a soft smile when elders approach, careful steps, composed breath, pretending that this world doesn't hurt. But inside, your mind spins. What if they realize I don't belong? What if the master tells his wife what happened? What if I am with child? That last thought coils inside you, like a cold snake in your belly. Because here, pregnancy is not joy, it is a gamble. If it's a boy, you might rise. If it's a girl, you may vanish. And if the master denies you, you may cease to exist at all. You take a slow breath. You keep sweeping. You keep smiling. You try to quiet the voice in your head. Maybe I don't belong in this life. Maybe the gods made a mistake. But that voice is louder than usual today. A bell rings. You place the broom aside. You kneel. It's time for the morning tea ceremony. Your presence is required. Your voice is not. You enter last. Your knees press into the tatami mat. You bow so low, your forehead brushes the floor. Around you, other women kneel, wives, concubines, some with painted faces, some with tired eyes, all still, like dolls on display. A boy, no older than 12, enters. He carries the tea. He pours, he leaves. No eye contact, no sound. You all sip together. This is not refreshment. This is ritual. This is survival. No one speaks, but the judgments are silent arrows. One girl's robe is sheer. She will be whispered about. Another coughs. Too loud. She will be scolded. One laughs. Brightly, briefly, and her name is already marked. Because here, in this world, the war is not on battlefields. It is in invisibility. You must be noticed, but never too much. Present, but never threatening. and just when it seems the moment will pass, a voice cuts through, quiet but sharp. You there, your collar is crooked. You freeze, eyes shift, soft as shadows over still water. They land on you. It's not your collar. You checked, but that doesn't matter. You bow, lower this time. Apologies, madam, the senior wife. She does not look again. Her words were not correction. They were warning. You feel your chest hollow out, as if shame has carved something away. You finish your tea. You return to your room. You fold your robe. You bury your face in your sleeves. And for a moment, a breathless, dangerous moment, you think, I want to run. I want to scream. I want this life to belong to someone else. But you don't run. You don't scream. You breathe. You kneel. You endure. Because here, even survival is a form of rebellion. There is no room for weakness in this world. Not in your voice, not in your body, not even in your thoughts. Because the gods are watching. They watch from behind the veil of incense smoke, from rooftops curled like dragon spines, from the carved eyes of wooden guardians flanking every noble gate. They see your shame before you dare name it. They feel your desire before you let yourself feel it. So you bow, even before you stand. At sunrise, the matron calls your name. You rise slowly, spine stiff from the cold. You have not slept. The scent of ash and oil still clings to your skin. Your thighs still remember last night's obedience. But there's no time for aching. She looks at you, not cruelly, but sharply. The look of a woman who has seen too many girls break too early. The lady says you're to be purified. You lower your eyes, you nod once. That's enough. No one tells you what it means, they never do. But you already know. Purification. It is not comfort, not healing. It is not for you. It is erasure. It is what happens to a woman's body after someone else has used it. In many places across medieval Asia, temples, noble homes, the courts of Goryeo, Heian and Song, purity must be restored. But not his purity. Yours. Whether you were concubine or courtesan, handmaid or hidden bride, you must be washed. You dress in plain linen. No ornaments, your hair pulled tight. Even perfume scrubbed from your wrists, as if scent alone might offend the divine. The walk to the temple is long, stone beneath bare feet, mist rising off the pond. Cherry trees bend low with age, watching. Guards glance away as you pass, not out of respect, but because now you are impure. You are less than servant. You are a vessel, waiting to be emptied. A bowl turned upside down, The temple gate towers over you. Dragons, fox spirits, lotus blossoms carved into the wood. A monk stands there. Old, thin, his eyebrows like white brush strokes. He does not greet you. He simply nods and steps aside. You enter the hall of purity, not the central shrine. This is a side chamber, built for women like you. It is smaller, darker, colder. Here, incense does not invite the gods. It only masks the scent of guilt. You kneel, not in faith, but in expectation. Stone bites your knees. Silk pools at your ankles. Your forehead touches the cold floor. You do not pray, because here your voice means nothing. A basin is brought. The water inside is not just water. It's wine mixed with ash. Petals of osmanthus, the flower of hidden longing. Burnt offerings crushed and stirred in silence. You are told to wash, not before the gods, before yourself. You dip the cloth, you wipe your face, your arms, your chest, where his hands had pressed. Between your legs, gently, slowly, silently. The wine stings, the ash leaves a film. You do not ask what it means. You do not ask who else has done this, because you already know. Every woman in this house has knelt in this silence. A chant begins. A monk behind the screen, his face unseen, his voice even memorized, familiar. He speaks of filial duty, of ancestral shame, of purity before heaven. But you are not listening, because inside your body, another voice begins to rise, one that sounds like your own, but stronger. Why am I the one who kneels? Why must I be washed when he walks clean? Why does the divine demand my silence, but not his confession? You do not speak the words, but they echo all the same. On the wall, above the rising incense, hangs a phrase. You are not just a servant. You are the offering. You remember it when you first arrived, when you were taught to bow before every doorway, when you were told to smile but never show teeth, when you bled for the first time and the matron whispered, "Now you belong to someone." You are the offering, not just in sex, but in obedience, in silence, in being present, but unseen, in being absent, made acceptable. You finish the washing. A young monk sets down a folded robe beside you, grey, plain, unadorned. You change, you tie the sash, you bow again, but this time, something inside you holds back. A thread, a whisper, a voice that says, "I was not made only to be given away." Outside, the air feels different. The sun climbs higher. Birdsong cuts through the stillness. You walk through the temple gate, each step heavier than the last. Not from guilt, but from knowing. You have seen what lies behind ritual. You have felt the weight of tradition, not as wisdom, but as chains. You have bowed. So many times you have forgotten what it means to stand. But you are still walking. And that alone is a kind of resistance. With aching knees, with quiet thoughts, with clenched breath, you reclaim something. You do not have freedom, not yet, but you have memory. You have a name, even if no one speaks it. You have hands, even if they only serve. And somewhere deep inside you, beneath the ritual, beneath the shame, beneath the silence, you still have fire. That fire whispers as you return to the compound. I was not just a servant. I was the offering. But even an offering can carry power. Even an offering can become a myth. You step through the inner gates. The robe clings to your damp skin. And before your eyes can register it, you feel it. Power. It hangs in the air like humidity. Not loud, not cruel, but everywhere. In the way servants scatter before silk shoes. In how your gaze never rises, unless invited. In how punishment walks quietly, and arrives before you even understand the crime. This house does not run on justice. It runs on hierarchy. You pass the governor's courtyard. His litter waits beneath the archway, lacquered wood, gilded beams. His guards polish the frame while the man himself enjoys warm rice and roasted eel. You've never spoken to him. Most women here never have. But his decisions shape your every breath. What robe you wear, which hallway you sweep, what man you kneel before, what punishment waits in the silence, and still he may never remember your name. They say the law protects the innocent, but here there is no law, only favor. The master's word is law. The senior wife's nod is law. The family scrolls, they are scripture. And you are not on the scrolls. In the courtyard, two girls have fought. You do not see it, only hear the aftermath. One slapped the other. Accused her of stealing perfume from the noble wife's quarters. The elder matron arrives. She does not ask who is right. She asks only, which girl comes from the higher house? The one in the lighter robe is spared. The other is taken away, dragged off without a word. She will not return tonight. She may not return at all. And in that moment, you learn a lesson carved deeper than any rule book. In this world, lineage is survival. A woman with family ties may become a wife. A woman without, she becomes a tool, a body, a breath, between dynasties. You pass the punishment corridor. There are no chains here, no screaming, no lash. That makes it worse. Here, punishment is invisibility. You are not beaten. You are erased, stripped of your duties, forbidden from being seen, locked away in a lightless room with only water and silence until they decide who you are again. Sometimes a day, sometimes a week, sometimes a lifetime. You walk faster. In a noble house of Goryeo, Korea, every woman is ranked. First wife, second, third, concubine, domestic, attendant, pleasure retainer. Your place can change in a night. With one favor, with one accusation. But once you fall, you rarely rise again. You reach the southern hallway. A boy stands in your path, no older than 13, the master's son. His robe is embroidered, his lips smug. He blocks your way. He says nothing. You bow, you wait, you hold your breath, because silence is your only shield. After a few heartbeats, he smirks, laughs, moves on. You exhale. Even a child here holds more power than you do. Centuries from now, historians will ask, what did his name mean? They'll read scrolls, trace lineages, debate dynasties. They won't know that today he was just a boy who blocked a girl's path just to prove he could. But you will remember, because today he held the power to break you, not with violence, but with silence. Later, a girl is summoned. No one says why, as no one ever does. She fixes her robe, she smiles. You know that smile. It is not joy, not pride. It is the mask of someone who has been chosen and cannot say no. She disappears into the master's wing. You whisper a prayer, not for her virtue, not even for her safety, just for her return. You sweep the back corridor. The wind shifts and far, beyond the estate walls, you hear drums, a festival, flutes, laughter, vendors calling out their prices. A world just beyond the gates you do not live in. And in that moment, you wonder, is there a world where I walk free? Could I choose who sees my body? Will anyone remember me when this house forgets? But you sweep, you smile, you bow when spoken to, because here, power isn't only what they hold. Sometimes power is the quiet choice to endure one more day. And still, somewhere in the scrolls of heaven, your breath is written, your footsteps recorded, your silence etched beside the names of kings who never once learned yours. You are not just a servant, you are the offering. But even offerings shape legacies. Even offerings become myth. You haven't spoken all day. No one has asked, no one ever asks. Your mouth has become a gate for silent performance, not speech. You nod, you bow, you serve, you endure, and still, the silence inside you grows heavier than any word could ever carry. Morning. You sweep the corridor outside the wife's chamber. You do not lift your eyes. Not even when laughter, soft, delicate, high, flutters through the silk screen. It's not yours. You sweep slower, not from laziness, but from that familiar pressing weight inside your chest, as if even your breath has been taken from you and returned only on condition. Your fingers are cracked at the tips, dried out from cold water and old soap. Splinters from the broom bite your palms, but you don't flinch. Even pain feels like something you once knew. Later, they send you to fetch warm cloths. You cross the stone courtyard. 2 guards stand like carved statues. They do not glance at you. You are air, and somehow that hurts more than cruelty. Because once, not so long ago, your presence meant something. A glance stolen, a name whispered, a moment that reminded you were still real. But now you are dust in their breath. In the laundry wing, a girl scrubs blood from linen. Not hers, not from war, just another night. She hums, not happily, but with rhythm, like it's the only way she knows she's still alive. You want to speak, ask her name, ask if she remembers it, but your throat locks. Because what if she doesn't? What if she, too, has already forgotten who she was? You sit in the garden behind the kitchen. It's late. No one comes here after dark. The moon hangs heavy. The plum tree rustles above. Frogs croak softly by the pond. And for a moment, just one, you imagine another life. You are barefoot in wet grass. You are running, not walking. You are laughing, not bowing. And then it fades. The matron's voice pierces the dream. Move, don't linger. Your feet ache, but you cannot sit. Your back aches, but you cannot slouch. Your spirit aches, and there is no word for that kind of wound. In medieval Asia, especially in the noble houses, emotional stillness was praised like a virtue. Desire, a threat, melancholy, an indulgence, sadness, a disobedience of the soul. And yet, you feel it. Like water beneath a frozen lake, your grief moves silently, even when no one sees it stirring. That night, your bed is hard, a thin mat, a single woven blanket. You curl, you close your eyes, but sleep doesn't come, not really. Your mind drifts through quiet questions, not loud, just steady. Why am I here? Is this my fate, or someone else's plan? Am I just a body, or something deeper? Would they let me die here, and keep walking by morning? You turn toward the wall. There's a crack in the wood. Moonlight falls through it, like a thread from another world. You stare at that light. You whisper your name, not loudly. The walls are thin. Just once. It falls from your lips like a word you haven't spoken in years. Was that really your name? Or the one they gave you for convenience? The girl beside you stirs in her sleep. She mumbles. You don't answer, because tonight you have nothing left to give anyone else. Not when you're slipping from your own grasp. You used to cry. Back in the beginning, when shame still burned sharp, when each touch left bruises on your ribs and behind your eyes. But now, tears feel like a language you've forgotten how to speak. Before sunrise, you walk the garden path. It's the only time the compound feels empty. The only time you are alone, not watched. You press your hand to the old pine tree, rough bark, real bark, unchanging, unlike you. You stare down at your hand. These hands carried rice bowls, folded robes, washed men who never asked your name, and they no longer feel like yours. Just extensions of a role. You look to the sky. Clouds drift like ghosts over the tiled rooftops. Is this body mine? Or am I just borrowed by tradition? A memory intrudes. You're a child. Laughter. Wind, your father's hand pulling you across a narrow bridge. He says something soft, something about your future. And then you blink and he's gone. No father, no future, only orders. You sit by the servant's shrine, a place built to honor ancestors whose names were never written down. You light a candle, not for prayer, just for warmth. The flame dances, you stare into it, and for one sharp second, you imagine pressing your hand into it, just to feel something that cuts through the numbness. You don't, but the thought stays. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe the gods made a mistake. Maybe there are no gods. Only rules too old to be questioned. You whisper those words into your ribs, like confessions meant only for your bones. Then a sound. A girl drops her tray. Tea spills. She stumbles. No one helps. You rise without thinking. You kneel beside her. You mop the mess. You meet her. You wake before the bell. Not because you slept lightly, but because your chest felt too tight to sleep at all. The world outside is still dark, but in your heart, something is boiling. You don't know where it came from, but it's there now, rising behind your ribs, coiling up your throat like fire. You're tired of being watched. Tired of being silent, tired of enduring without end, and today that tiredness has teeth. The courtyard is hushed when you step outside. Dew glistens on stone. Your breath clouds the cold morning air. The earth smells of damp leaves, cold ash, and unspoken things. A sparrow flutters near the bathhouse roof. Even the birds seem cautious here. You walk, each step deliberate, each breath controlled. You are preparing for something. You do not yet know what, but you feel it. Today something breaks. The summons comes before breakfast. A guard appears. Expression unreadable. The master requests her presence. Now, her not your name, just your function. Your gut tightens. Your hands tremble, just slightly. You curl your fingers into fists, you nod, you follow. The corridor to the inner chamber is long, silent. It smells of polished wood, resin, silk oil. You know this path. You've walked it before, but today your mind is not numb. Today your mind is awake. He is seated beneath the lanterns. He does not rise. He does not greet. He gestures once toward the mat. You kneel, back straight, eyes lowered, trained, conditioned, but inside a storm brews. He asks questions, meaningless ones, about the servants, the washing, the meals. None of it matters. You respond, quiet, obedient, but you see the shift in his eyes. He is not here for words. He is here for power. Then he lifts his hand and you freeze, not from fear, from refusal. Something ancient in you rises like smoke. Not again. Not this time. Not like this. He expects you to move, to obey, to offer, but you do not. He frowns. A crease forms between his brows. The silence stretches. The whole room waits. And then you lift your gaze. It is small, so small. But it is the first time in months, perhaps years, that you look a man in the eye. He startles. His lips part. You say nothing, but your message is clear. I see you. I do not fear you. I will not kneel for nothing. The room shifts, a tension so sharp it hums. He leans forward. Are you disobeying? A blade disguised as a question. Your pulse screams, survive, apologize, submit, but instead your heart answers, I belong to myself. 5 words, quiet, final. They split the air like thunder. He stands fast. His sleeves whip the air. His face hardens, not from insult but confusion. He does not understand because men like him mistake obedience for nature. He steps toward you. You do not flinch. You expect the strike, the exile, the dismissal. But instead, he calls out, Matron! She arrives swiftly, reads the room, his stance, your stillness. Her eyes sharpen. Take her, he says, strip her rank, send her to the garden quarters. You are led away, not dragged, not screamed at, just removed, like an object no longer fit for use. Everyone knows what it means. The garden quarters, exile, shame, shadow, where the defiant are shelved, where silence becomes your name. You walk the path in silence. Servants look away, some murmur, others smirk. You feel their judgment, their fear, but for the first time, you are not crushed by it. Because inside, something is alive. Your new room is cold, smaller. No windows, no lanterns. You are handed a blanket. No robe, no bowl. The door shuts. You sit on the mat and exhale. And in this silence, you are freer than you have ever been. No one can summon you. No voice demands your kneeling. No ritual waits for your compliance. You are alone, terrifying, and holy. You whisper your name, this time with pride. You touch your chest gently. This is mine. This body, this voice, this soul. You have lost everything, status, safety, proximity to power. But you have gained something sacred, choice, even if it was only once, even if it cost you your place. You chose, and that choice will echo forever. Even if no scroll records it, the moon rises, its light slips through the cracks. You lie back, you do not cry, you do not fear. You simply exist, fully, painfully, truthfully. And for the first time in memory, you sleep with both eyes closed. You are not just a servant, you are the offering. But today, you offered yourself something rare. Dignity. Segment end. Teaser. Tomorrow, you will wake in a world that does not welcome your choice. But you have already crossed the line, and the consequences are coming. You wake cold, not from weather, but from absence. No voices greet you. No steps echo beyond the walls. No water boils in distant kitchens, only silence. Here in the garden quarters, you are not fed, not summoned, not seen. The price of defiance was not a beating. It was invisibility. And yet, you woke, you breathe. Your defiance still lives inside your ribs like a second heartbeat. You rise slowly. The mat is thin, the floor damp. There is no basin, no robe change. Still, you smooth your garments, tie your sash, gather your hair. Even in exile, ritual remains, not for them but for you. Because routine, in a world that trades your body like rice, is a form of resistance. Outside, morning light slices through trees. You move toward the laundry courtyard. No one invites you. But you know, if you want to eat today, you must work. In medieval Asia, food was often not a right. It was wage. A girl could scrub robes all day and still go hungry if the matron deemed her slow. Rice was payment. Warm water was reward. A boiled egg, luxury. You join two others at the stone basin. They don't speak, but they don't push you away. That's enough. You dip cloth, wring water, scrub stains. Each motion is memory, each breath survival. The steam rises, your fingers prune, your back tightens, but you move like a machine. You are not washing fabric, you are buying existence. Behind you, the head attendant shouts, "A girl has lost a sash." The fabric is missing, embroidery torn. The value of that sash? Equal to a month of barley. A single mistake can cost a life's worth of food. The girl is slapped, not hard, but publicly. Shame is cheaper than guards. Later, you sweep the south corridor. You hear them whispering near the outer kitchen. Did you know she was dismissed? He found a younger one. Her silence wasn't sweet enough. You don't know who they mean, but it doesn't matter. In this world, the body is currency, and silence is its tax. You reach the kitchen by dusk. There are scraps in a bowl, rice crust, fish skin, broth bones. You bow. You ask. The boy there eyes you carefully, then nods. You eat behind the woodpile, quietly, quickly. And you think, this fishtail was bought with my spine. My kneeling feeds me more than my hands ever did. In noble households across Song China, Joseon Korea, and Heian Japan, a woman's value was measured by layers of contribution. Sexual availability, speech control, lineage potential, labor reliability, face preservation. Each part of her life had a price. A tunic, 2 weeks' worth of firewood, a silk hair ribbon, the equivalent of 6 meals, a silver mirror, more than a servant's annual wage. Even love could be bartered for land, for alliances, for debt. Once you remember a girl who fell in love with the stable boy. She tried to run. She made it 1 mile before they found her. Barefoot, breathless, hands scraped raw. They didn't beat her. They did worse. They sold her to a merchant house, far away, where no one remembers her name. All for a bowl of copper coins. You wonder, how much am I worth? If someone weighed my memories, my tears, my body, would I even fill a purse? A knock at your door startles you. It's the youngest attendant, barely more than a child. She says nothing, just places something on the mat and leaves. You unfold it, bread and a comb, simple, wooden, worn smooth by years of use. You press the bread to your nose. It smells sweet, alive. You weep, not loudly, but as if some small part of you just remembered it deserves care. Later that night, as you sit by the lantern's flame, you do the math in your mind. The sandals on your feet, 3 bowls of rice, the robe you wear, 12, the comb, a fortnight's worth of labor. Your silence, priceless, not because it is honored, but because it is expected. You speak to yourself now, quietly, inside your breath. You say, I am not rice, I am not thread, I am not silver. I am not the debt you use to buy power. I am not the meal you earn by breaking me. And yet, you also know, to survive here, you must play the game. Learn the price of every word. Know when to bow and when to pause, just long enough to remind them you have a soul. It's not rebellion, not yet. It's something subtler. Resistance measured in patience. Survival laced with dignity. You volunteer to serve at the small spring festival. The matron hesitates, but she agrees. You carry tea. You decorate lanterns. You kneel, but not as low as before. Eyes notice. Whispers begin. She's returned stronger. Maybe they shouldn't have cast her out so quickly. You smile once, not for them, for yourself, because you understand now. Even obedience has value when you choose where to give it. A merchant arrives that evening. He inspects silk, spices, ivory hairpins. But he also watches the girls. He speaks softly to the master. He points. You are not among those chosen. And somehow, you are glad, because that too has a price. And tonight, no one buys you. You retreat to your quarters. You light the lantern. You hold the comb. You eat the last piece of bread. And you whisper, my body is not currency. My breath is not inventory. I am not for sale. The wind shifts outside. A storm is coming. You do not fear it, because in this world of cost and debt, you are finally learning how to spend your will like gold. And tomorrow, you may trade it for something greater. Surprise historical fact. In some 14th century Japanese noble houses, concubines were valued in koku, units of rice enough to feed one man for a year. A woman's worth was quantified in food, not feeling. Final reflection. You are never just a servant. You were the ledger they feared would speak. And now, you are learning to count and on yourself. You were told stories, not fairy tales, but something worse. Histories, poems, painted scrolls, silken verses whispered by older women when the lanterns were dimmed. They told you what love should look like. A lady with powdered skin, writing poems to a man whose sleeve still smells like war. A courtesan, eyes downcast, hiding a smile behind her fan as he presses gold into her palm. A prince, claiming a wife with ceremony and firelight, lifting her veil like she's a scroll of destiny. You believed them, but now you see the truth. There is no veil, no poem, no silk-wrapped love, only rooms and transactions, and eyes that look at your body like it's a seasonal harvest, ripe, then discarded. You sit in the bathhouse corridor, steam swirling through cedar beams. A new girl, barely 14, is being prepared. She is scrubbed, perfumed, instructed. The matron whispers, breathe quietly. Do not speak unless asked. Touch his hand before he asks. Look at his chest, not his eyes. You look away, not from disgust, but from recognition. Because those were your instructions once. Because you remember how it felt to believe. If I obey well enough, maybe it will be gentle. It wasn't. They told you sex was sacred, that it connected you to gods, that your womb was a temple, that submission was feminine, that pain was part of beauty. But you now understand, it was never about connection. It was about control. In medieval Asia, from the Qing harem to the Heian court, a woman's erotic life was crafted for someone else's poetry, not her pleasure. Even the most celebrated consorts were bought, trained, voiceless, silken robes, painted lips. But beneath it all, numbness wrapped in elegance. You once believed that if you were beautiful enough, obedient enough, mysterious enough, you would be spared. But beauty only made them greedier. Obedience made you forgettable. Mystery was a mask they tore away. Now you understand why the older women never smiled during the festivals. They weren't bitter. They were tired, because they had watched generation after generation of girls walk the same path, from bathhouse to chamber to silence, because they had told the same stories, even though they knew they weren't true. You walk past the scroll room. A man is reading aloud from the pillow book, the famous Heian-era diary of a court lady. He reads, "The elegant man's scent clings to his robes like the last breath of spring." The others laugh softly. They call it refined. They call it romantic. But you know, that same scent. You scrubbed it out of cloth until your hands bled. That same man, he never asked your name. Only if the bath was warm. Only if you would stay silent. The girls dream of being like Sei Shonagon, or Lady Hyekyong, or Ban Zhao. But they don't know those women wrote to survive, not to dream. Their words were cages carved from cleverness. Strategies, not sanctuaries. You walk alone in the back garden after dusk. You see two servants huddled in the shadows, whispering with quick smiles, not noble, not grand, but something real. You do not interrupt. You do not scold. You just pause and wonder, is this what it's supposed to feel like? Is this what they kept from us all along? You remember the first time your body was touched without invitation. You remember how it was justified. She smiled. She walked too boldly. She bathed late. And you remember how you carried that guilt for years, as if you were the flame that lit your own burning. Now you know the fire was always theirs. You lie awake at night, staring at the beam above your head. You replay every myth they fed you. The noble man waits. The virtuous woman is rewarded. Good daughters marry upward. And one by one, you set them on fire in your mind. Each lie a spark, each memory a flame, until inside you a quiet blaze begins to form, not of rage, but of clarity. You are no longer a participant in the story. You are the witness. And witnessing is power. Because when you name the lie, you weaken it. You whisper, you are not just a servant, you are the consequence. A phrase that echoes differently now. Because before, you feared it meant shame. But now, you see it as a warning to the world. You made me this way. You crafted this silence, and I am what it cost. In the courtyard, a young boy helps an elder sweep. He moves too slow. He drops the broom. The elder snaps, "What use is a boy who cannot work?" And you realize this system broke everyone. Not just the girls, not just the servants, even the men The guards, the eunuchs, the courtiers, they're all locked in roles they never chose. But some of them enforce the cage anyway. And that's what makes it cruel. You take your comb, you braid your hair, not the ceremonial way, but your way, your hands, your rhythm. It's small, but it's truth. And in a world built on lies, truth is dangerous. You begin to write in your mind a secret story, a private scroll. It goes like this. Once there was a girl who believed. She believed in silk and poetry and princes, until they took her name and her skin and her voice, but they could not take her seeing. And so she became a mirror, one that showed the truth. And they feared her, because mirrors do not kneel. You were never just a servant, you were the story. And now you are the one writing it, even if it only lives in breath, in silence, in the space where myths go to die. You see the blood before you understand it. Dark, dried, a half-erased smear on the polished floor. Someone tried to clean it, but not well enough. No one speaks, no gasps, only glances, down, then quickly away. You feel the stillness in your spine, that ancient awful stillness right before a story breaks. You find her in the laundry wing, the youngest, not sobbing, not screaming, just folded in on herself, arms locked over her stomach, lips trembling like a prayer lost in wind. You kneel, voice soft. Who was it? She does not speak, but she doesn't need to. You already know. Later he walks through the central hall, the master, not rushed, not hiding, silk trailing behind him like nothing ever touched him. Not even the girl, not even her blood. He moves like culture made flesh, composed clean. He is centuries of silence stitched into robes. And in that moment, something in you fractures, not breaks. You've broken before. This is quieter. This is a death. The death of a part of you that once believed fear was survival. It dies. And what grows in its place is not sorrow, not rage, but decision. You wait until night, not for safety, but for meaning. Because this house hides all things in darkness. And tonight, you will not. You slip through the back corridors, past the old grain store, past the ancestral shrine, toward the scroll chamber. You know where he sits. You know who guards him. You know when they eat. Because you've been watching, listening, waiting. He doesn't look up, but he knows. You've returned, he says, amused, as if you're a leaf, drifting back to his window. But you're not a leaf. You are the storm. You step forward. Another, until you can smell the cedar ink on his sleeves. Your hands shake, but your voice does not. You don't deserve silence anymore. He leans back, a smirk mocking. And what would you say, little bird? You meet his eyes, enough to end you. You do not raise your voice. You raise the truth, the girl, the blood, the way he walked past her sorrow like it was water. You do not scream, you do not cry, you testify. And in that moment, you're not servant, not consort, not even woman. You are witness. And witnesses in every era are dangerous. He stands, fast. The silk of his sleeve snaps. He grabs your wrist. His voice is fire and venom. Do you think anyone will believe you? You do not flinch. They don't need to. I do. He lets go. Not because he fears you, but because, for the first time, he sees it. You are no longer afraid. And he never learned what to do with someone he couldn't control. By morning, the rumors spread like wind. A girl seen leaving his chambers, a whisper at the well, a pause in the kitchens. No punishment comes, not directly, but your food vanishes. Your robe goes unreplaced. Your name is scrubbed from the duty scroll. They do not beat you. They erase you, but others remember. The older women slip you hot tea without speaking. The stable girl gives you a ribbon. And the youngest, the one who wept that day, now sleeps beside your mat. No words, no thanks, just presence. And in a world like this, presence is protest. Days pass. You work less, eat less, but you walk taller. You no longer bow out of habit. You bow only when you choose. And then one morning, he is gone, the master. They say he left for the capital. Some whisper disgrace. Others, a promotion. But you know, he left after you spoke. And that is power. Now the house feels different. Like a field after fire. Blackened, but cleared. The youngest helps fold your bedding. She says, they'll forget his name in a few years. And you nod, because you remember what you said long ago. This day will echo through time. It has, and still does. Not because you screamed, but because you stood. And in a world where even gods ask for silence, standing is a prayer no one taught you. That night, you sit beneath the plum tree. The moon is full. The earth smells like old rain. You breathe fully, deeply. You did not survive. You changed something. And somewhere, someday, a girl will breathe louder because you did not keep quiet. You were never just a servant. You were the consequence. And now you are the echo. Foreshadow callback. You don't know it yet, but today will echo through time. It did, and it still does. The sun has long dipped behind the roofline. But still you do not move. You sit outside your door, palms resting gently on your knees. The stone beneath you still holds the memory of heat. The air smells of bamboo ash, night flowers, and something else. Freedom, maybe. Or peace that wasn't permitted, but claimed. A firefly winks beside the moss-covered step. The world around you has hushed, not in fear, not in caution, but in something softer. As if even the night now knows, you've earned this silence. You rise, not from fatigue, but with purpose. Because even your smallest actions now carry weight, folding your sash with care, smoothing the corners of your mat, lighting the lamp, not hurried, but sacred. This is not servitude, it is ceremony, and you are its priestess. Your room holds no silk, no scrolls, no titles. But what it holds is rarer than rank. Sanctity, a blanket, your comb, a folded robe, a piece of dried apricot saved from yesterday's tray. You pause at the doorway, just a breath, as if crossing into holy ground. Because here, within these humble walls, you are not hidden, not forgotten, but unwitnessed by your own will. You brush your hair, slow, intentional, wood against wood. Your comb sings in soft rhythm, a lullaby of survival. Each stroke sweeps away dust and memory, and the echoes of men who once spoke your name like a possession. You remember their hands, their etiquette, their hunger wrapped in silk. But you remember something else more. You remember the sentence that changed everything. I belong to myself. It still lives between your ribs, an amulet of truth, a heartbeat forged from fire. Outside the lanterns flicker, the wind shifts, the matron passes, her shadow lingers by your door. She does not enter, and yet you do not flinch, because now they no longer watch you to correct. They watch to understand. Are you dangerous? Are you sacred? Yes, you are both. You lie down. Your back finds the mat with familiarity. Above, the ceiling beam watches you, etched with knots and grain like the script of your life. Each crack, a scar, each dent, a memory, each stretch of wood, a prayer unspoken. You close your eyes gently, not to shut the world out, but to tell it, I am not afraid of your dreams. Your exhale comes slow, steady, the kind of breath that follows truth. No applause, no witness, and yet you feel whole. You do not miss the master, not the woman who sent you here, not the gods who asked for your obedience. You miss only one thing yourself. The girl you were before the scrolls, before the bathhouse, before the first time someone called your body useful. That girl, she comes back tonight. Not all at once, but enough to whisper, we are not ruined, we are remembered. Your hand drifts beneath the blanket, not from chill, but to feel your own pulse. Faint, unwavering, divine. And that rhythm, that's the only one that matters now. Sleep comes slowly, gracefully, not out of exhaustion, but out of completion. Your final thoughts are not of vengeance, not of judgment, but of legacy. Because now you know, even if no scroll records you, even if no statue bears your name, the girl who walks this path after you will breathe more freely, because you changed the air. Outside, the sky turns to ink. A single bird cries in the distance. The bamboo rustles with secrets. And somewhere unseen, another girl asks her first forbidden question. That is your legacy. Not survival, not silence, but awakening. You were never just a servant. You were the story. And tonight, the story sleeps, not in fear, but in peace. Final reflection. Tomorrow will bring labor, and ritual, and whispers. But you will rise as someone reborn. Not because the world softened, but because you did not. You wake, not into fear, not into shame, not into duty, but into something gentler, something earned, quiet. Birdsong brushes the window frame, soft and early. The sky above is silver, not light, not dark, just becoming, like a promise you're finally ready to believe in. You lie still, hands resting gently on your chest, and you feel it, that soft rhythm, that ancient stubborn proof you are alive. You rise, slowly, deliberately. The robe slides over your shoulders like a whisper from a version of you that once only survived. Now, you choose. No bells, no summons, no footsteps pacing tile with unspoken threat. Only morning, and breath, and you. You step into the courtyard. The world smells of boiled rice, sandalwood, wet clay, familiar but no longer binding. You're not expected, but you move anyway. Because this is the difference now. Each step you take isn't service. It's a statement. I was here. I mattered. I changed the air. You pass beneath the old cherry tree. Its blossoms are opening, pale pink and trembling with newness. A single petal lands in your palm, weightless, fragrant, free. You look up, and you remember the seasons you didn't think you'd live to see. But you did, not by permission, not by chance, by will. Others walk past, they nod. A girl meets your eyes and smiles. She says nothing, but in the stillness between you, something sacred moves. Not recognition, reverence. You reach the edge of the garden. The gate is near. Beyond it, the road, the market, the river. And beyond that, everything unknown. You have never walked farther than the outer threshold. But today, you do not pause. Because for the first time in your remembered life, no one owns your next step. You place your hand on the gate, not trembling, not hesitant, and you whisper, Not to gods, not to ancestors, not to any master still echoing in your blood. You whisper to yourself, you were never just a servant. You were the storyteller, and now you are free. The gate creaks, opens, you walk forward, not quickly, not timidly, with clarity, with grace, with a kind of stillness inside you that took years to earn, the kind that comes only after you've named your pain and refused to pass it down. As the compound fades behind you, the wind shifts, and something rises in your chest, not sorrow, a deep glowing thank you. To the girl you used to be, the one who endured when no one asked if she could, the one who knelt not from weakness, but to plant the seed of the self who now stands. And now the camera fades, not with blood, not with triumph, but with a whisper. You lived it, you felt it, you carried the silence, then broke it, and now you are no longer in the story. You are its memory. Reflection prompt. Could you have survived a single day in her world? Not just the pain, but the quiet, the gaze, the hunger traded for obedience. Could you have endured the moments that were never truly yours? Could you have bowed? Could you have spoken? Would you have stood? If you're still listening, you are rare, not the kind who simply consumes history, but the kind who carries it, in your breath, in your empathy, in the way your hands tremble at injustice, even centuries later. So sleep well tonight, storyteller, because now you've seen, and those who see, they shape what comes next.